of 12 Days of Treemas, or 12 Trees of Christmas, whichever one we decide that I'm going with. So I just have a cup of tea. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do French knots. I'm going to fill this randomly with French knots, and I'm using a variegated DMC Moulin thread, and simply because I thought the red and the green and the creams will look like baubles, and then possibly I'll intersperse a few little beads in. I'm not entirely sure at this stage. So I've got 2 strands. I've split it down to 2 strands, and then as always on a variegated thread I swap my ends around, if that makes sense. Yeah, I swap my ends around so you get a little bit more variegation. So I'm not doing a waist knot on a little stitches. I'm going to come straight up through the back with a knot, just because I won't have anywhere to hide it really. So you come up through your fabric, hold on to your working thread, put your needle down towards your fabric and wrap twice, and then put your needle back down as close to where you came up as possible. Don't go down the same hole, you'll just pull it straight back through. Holding on to your working thread, keep it taut, and then you've got a little knot, and you just want to go along. You can do 2 wraps, 1 wrap, 3 wraps, vary them just to give it a bit of texture, and I'll work this whole tree in French knots. Try not to come up all the way up the edge, try and leave a couple of gaps, otherwise it'll look a little bit too uniform. Also the spaces might be different, the spacing. Don't worry too much about it being uniform. You can put them closer together, further apart, whichever suits. As I always say, you do you, it's your piece. You might find that your variegation's not quite as variegated. I don't know. So, like I say, I'll probably go in with some beads and add a few. I seem to have gone up in the same sort of space. I'm sort of going 2 and 3 wraps. If you start to do more wraps, it becomes a different stitch altogether. It sort of gets a bit too bulky. This is one of my favourite stitches, a French knot. French knots and bullion knots. I get very carried away with. a single, oops, have I gone? A single wrap just in that little gap. Again, one in there. Oh, Gertrude. For those of you out there who have cats and dogs and other various pets, they are like children. The moment you start doing something, they want your full attention. And if they don't get it, then they start to play up. Gertrude's very much the boss in this house. I'm going to fasten off in a moment. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this whole tree in French knots, and then I'll come back and show you the trunk and if I'm going to put any beads in. Okay, so I've filled the tree design in with lots of French knots, and I'm now going to make a little trunk. I'll just twist. I've got my variegated PEARLE again. I'm just going to do some little tiny stitches. Again, your choice. How you want your trunk to look. I'm going to go with some long stitches again. Oops. Obviously I'm sort of making the illusion that the trunk's going all the way up. Just snip that off so I can see where I am. I'm going to leave it at that. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. I was going to go in with some beads, but I'm just going to have a little look, see what it looks like before I do that. Just with my getting rid of the trick marker. Oh, I don't know whether I need any more in. I don't think I do. I think I'm going to leave it at that. Just get rid of that last bit. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that and just create the illusion. So, day 3 done. Happy stitching.